Welcome, everybody, to a new series that CapitalW Collective has started called CapitalW Café. We're at the intersection of business and life. So sit down, have a cup of tea while we spill it for you. With me is my new good friend that I've met over the last couple of years, Ashley Puckett. She is a CMB and she is a secondary marketing guru. I'm so pleased to have her in my life. But I also want to introduce her because she is a contributing author to one of the latest Rethink Everything books. So this is Rethink Everything You Know About Mentorship. Suha Zeal is the author and asks folks to contribute. So Ashley, I'd love for you to tell us about yourself and also about your contribution to this book on mentorship.
Well, first, thank you so much, Amy, for having me. Very glad to have met you a few years ago and see you out on the networking circuit. You're doing a lot of good things for women in capital markets, so really appreciate you for that. A little bit about myself. I live in Atlanta, Georgia with my family, and I've been in the industry since 2011. I started off as a loan processor, was in post-closing for about 6 years, and transitioned over to secondary and capital markets back in 2017. And that's where I've been ever since. Current job is with Novus Home Mortgage. I'm AVP of Capital Markets, so handle all things trade desk related.
Great. And so you were a contributor to this mentorship book. Would love to, if you would kind of talk about that process. And then you also had a wonderful mention of CapitalW Collective in here, which just warmed my heart.
Yeah, so Suha is a good friend of mine. We actually met during School of Mortgage Banking 2 in Charlotte. Did not know Suha at all. Went to the in-person class. It was about a week long and didn't know a single person. And to this day, some of the ladies and the men that I met in that class are some of my best industry friends. And I want to give a shout out to the MBA for, offering these educational courses, because if you put the time and commitment, ask questions, and really try to network and outreach in those classes, you really can get a lot of good information, make a lot of great friends. And so when Suha, decided that she wanted to, author and write a book on mentorship, she reached out to me one day and was like, "Hey, do you have time to talk tomorrow?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure. What time?" And she called me and she's like, "Hey, I'm working on this book and I would love for you to be a contributor." And I was almost in tears. I was like, "Thank you so much for thinking of me." Like, never in a million years would I have thought that I was going to be a contributor for a book. I'm not that great at writing, but, storytelling and telling people what I'm passionate about, like, I am up for all of those things. And I was like, you know what? I say yes. It puts me out of my comfort zone. And what a better way to do it than, with industry friends doing the same thing.
Excellent. Well, and you mentioned it in your chapter, so it's chapter 14, generational framework. I love that name of that chapter. And we are of two different generations, you and I, and doesn't mean that can't be valuable. In fact, I think the opposite is true, learning from folks who have been through something, also older folks like myself, learning from younger folks who might be embracing something that is out of my scope. So you mentioned CapitalW Collective, your introduction to CapitalW Collective in here. And could I get you just to summarize that real quick?
Yeah, so I attended MCT Exchange a couple years ago, and my MCT rep, Paige Woodall, he's like, "Hey, Ashley, there is going to be a session that we're rolling out. It's going to be pretty much the first of its kind, women in capital markets. And they're rolling out this organization, CapitalW. And he's like, you should attend it if you have time." And I was like, of course, I'll be there, right? As we know, not as many women in capital markets as there are men. And, I feel like us to support each other is a big deal in my eyes, right? And so attended the session, and that's where I first kind of met you, Leslie, Katie, and a few other folks. And one of my industry friends, Jasmine Robertson, and I, we sat at a table together, sat at a table with some other ladies we didn't know, introduced ourselves, and it was really good conversation. The session got started, and what I loved was having different generations of women sit on the stage and talk about their experiences, where they started in the industry, how they got involved in capital markets, how they really had to work through, some difficult times being a woman in capital markets. And I think that really resonated with a lot of people in the room to, have this outstanding group of women panelists and knowing that they kind of have went through the same thing and just being open and vulnerable and, talking the tough topics, right? Also fun topics too, but I think with mentorship, you do have to be a little bit vulnerable, not only for myself to get something out of it, but also for your mentee too, right? I think sharing stories, sharing, hey, you know what, I'm struggling with this. Like, how would you approach this situation? And being able to do that with women across different generations is nice because you've been there before, right? Maybe I haven't been there before. And maybe you're like, you know what, Ashley, I went through the same exact situation 15 years ago. Here's how I handled it. This is what I suggest you do. Maybe you need to reach out to someone else on this, but just really having that open communication. And even though you don't think of it as a mentoring opportunity, like in the structure that is mentorship, those conversations stick with me. And I'm sure they stick with you too, right? And I just think it's a wonderful thing, right? To just be able to sit there and have this wonderful organization of ladies that have been in capital markets for a long time and getting feedback from them.
Right. Yeah. Well, wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. Thank you for mentioning us. And thank you for your contributions too. It does take a village for anything, any effort, whether it's an organization or a business firm or anything else in your life. You have to put in, if you're going to, you put in the effort if you're going to get something out of it. So thank you so much. Well, we are starting this CapitalW Café series here to talk a little bit of business and talk a little bit of life. That mentorship is absolutely both things, isn't it? You're bringing up relationship and with those relationships, we learn a lot about things that we're going out in the world and doing, such as the MBA secondary conference that's coming up. So what I'd like to do here is have a conversation about what we're seeing at the conference. So the MBA puts on this fantastic secondary conference. It's been in New York City for the last, I don't know, since fire was invented. I'm not real sure, but forever. And so this is the last year that it's in the Big Apple. What I was going to ask you real quick, what do you like about New York City for the secondary, and is there anything that you dislike? I certainly have opinions too, but.
Yeah, so as far as likes, obviously I like the networking opportunities. I like being able to meet with my investors, my vendors. I work remotely, so it makes it hard for me to be able to see any of those folks since I'm not in the corporate office. And so really it's my time to shine, right? And be able to say hello and have conversations in person. And I really like that piece of really any of the conferences. I would say, dislike, Times Square can be a little crazy at times, and you might get a little overstimulated with all the people and all the lights. And on a Monday or Tuesday at the conference, I mean, I'm probably walking 25,000 steps because I'm hoofing it around Times Square, right? Going to my meetings, and meetings start 8:39 in the morning, and then you have receptions and dinners, and maybe a friend wants to grab a drink after dinner, and it's a long day, right? I think that's what makes it a little difficult, is just the amount of walking, because Times Square is just so massive, right? And everyone's kind of spread out. So
yeah, and it's like you said, it's a little crazy, and it's filled with a lot of crazy.
It is,
too, which can be enjoyable. I'll have to say what I dislike is I love a spring in right there in Times Square. I don't leave it too much. I have to say, after all the years that I've gone, I think I took my husband one time when I was getting my CMB, and I was taking the oral exam at the secondary. He came along. It was the first time we left our 3 little kids, alone for an extended period of time. And I got sick as a dog, unfortunately.
Oh, no.
Yes. Yeah. But that was after he my husband decided we needed to go to Chinatown so he could buy a fake Rolex and I could buy a fake, Prada purse. But that's fun. But
Mhm.
but you're taking your family, right? And so hopefully it'll
Yes.
be good weather for you. I was taking a look at the weather and it looks like we're okay on Sunday and Monday, maybe Tuesdays when it's going to rain. So everybody needs to bring an umbrella and bring comfortable shoes that you don't mind getting all the nasty slosh
Mhm.
on them, because that's what I really don't like about New York City, I'm afraid. I grew up,
Yeah.
in the South, and not knowing what's on the bottom of your feet or on your shoes.
No,
That's
you
like
don't.
giving me
Yeah.
HPVs.
Very
Well,
disgusting.
how about we do this? Let's
Okay.
I encourage everybody to always go and to the secondary website, and then you can, and I'll just share it here real quick. You can always come in and download a schedule if you'd like. Let's see, there we go. You can make your own editable, agenda. And so what I did was I downloaded a few things that I thought maybe we could take a look at the events that are, so you have to be registered. Oops, let me get back
Mhm.
up here to the top. Have to be registered to attend these. But if your company has paid for you to attend the secondary, really get your money's worth. These are opportunities to learn a lot. I wanted to first talk about when you get there on Sunday, you have to register, assuming you come in on Sunday, got to register anyway. But the MBA put on the agenda the member engagement suite. And I think this is a fantastic resource that people underutilize way too
Agree.
much. You can talk to your folks in the group about what kind of benefits do I get as being a
Mhm.
part of a company that is an MBA member, but also the education piece too.
Mhm.
Ashley, you were just bringing up school mortgage banking. There are so many free things that are available to MBA members that are, you can do it on your own time or attend webinars or play it back a couple times if you don't understand it. Something like let's see, hedge accounting or secondary marketing accounting.
Mhm.
There's there's a great free course that's been offered on that I've myself have had to watch it a couple of times. But I think this is a fantastic place to stop first, or stop whenever you have a moment, is to reach out to the MBA, ask for some time, go talk to them and see how you can really leverage all the opportunities that await you. But when you come in on Sunday, one of the best meetings, if you're there early enough, and I hope I'm going to be able to get there in time. Last year, it took me 3 hours to get from JFK to the hotel. So I missed it last year, but at 1:30 is the Secondary and Capital Markets Committee meeting. So they have to be registered again, but it's a fantastic place to see and hear from folks from all over the industry and all different types of positions. So from the MBA, from the GSEs, from investors, from regulatory bodies, really interesting conversation. And if you're not part of the Secondary and Capital Markets Committee that meets monthly, be sure to go back to the MBA webpage and look for committees. That's a really great place to learn things. Even if you're not necessarily involved, it makes you in that particular part of capital markets. I think you get a better understanding about the complexities and the intersection of issues.
I agree. And I will say, Sasha, she does a very great job running that committee and really tying together, your daily capital markets functions, but what is happening on the political side, what's happening on the industry side. We get so busy in the day-to-day, sometimes we don't hear what's going on, and they do such a good job with breaking everything down and really getting our input. So if you're not a member of that committee, highly suggest you sign up. It's free. You learn
Yeah.
a lot of great information that's going on in the industry for us.
It is a lot of great people there, and I'll have to
Mhm.
say I've been guilty of multitasking while I'm listening to it, and then I hear something and I about break my neck going, what? Wait a minute, I've got to stop
Yeah.
and listen to that, because like I said, there are a lot of things that maybe aren't pertinent to exactly what I'm doing at the moment, but when I hear it, the light bulb goes off over my head,
Mhm.
making that connection. I did want to also point out here on Sunday, which is this special session, the market outlook. So before all the parties get started, various, the MBA's economists, but but wanted to call out one of my favorite people, 𝗖𝗪𝗪 Thomas with FICO. She is, if you don't know 𝗖𝗪𝗪, she is an amazing person, extremely knowledgeable about capital markets securitization. We've done a Take 5 with her that if you'd like to take a look back in the CapitalW, we've got various videos. Also did one with Ashley, so please check that out. But it's really, she's really a great person, and I know this is going to be a fantastic session that will be a great setup for the rest of the conference too.
Agreed.
All right, so heading over, so then of course Sunday night there's a whole bunch of parties, and probably going to meet a lot of people in the bar at the Marquee. Excellent place to hang out, even if you don't drink. It's a great place to see a lot of different people. Oh, and one thing I failed to mention here, Ashley, the CMB Society is meeting Sunday afternoon, right?
Yes, that's right. So I am organizing a CMB meet and greet, just casual networking opportunity at the Marriott Marquis, 8th floor, the Rebel and Rye Bar. It's the main bar on that floor, and starts at 4 and goes until people, you know, want to leave and go to their receptions and dinners. But if you are a CMB, an AMP, a CMB candidate, please come join us.
Excellent. Wonderful. And if anybody wanted to learn more about what it takes to become a CMB, feel free to reach out to myself or to Ashley. We can, you can hit our LinkedIn messaging, and we'd be happy to talk to you about that as well.
For sure.
And I'm sure there are going to be a lot of people at secondary conference too. If you are attending and bump into somebody, they'll be happy to tell you all about becoming a CMB. And
oh, definitely.
Yeah. Okay, so Monday's got the general sessions opening and so forth, but one thing that we wanted to call out here, we know this is a big topic, right? The modernized credit scores and securitization. So a couple components there, of course, is on the front end and the benefit to the borrower, but a lot of conversation I think is important that should be had if it's not happening already is the change management. What does it mean when you incorporate different types of scores and have to update models, validate those models, then go out into the market and explain to investors. Investors are making assessments. You know, it's a different, any change to a model requires significant stress testing as well. So I think this is a fantastic group that will be describing both 10T as well as VantageScore 4.0. I can imagine this might be a little, little testy, or spirited, maybe is the better way to say it.
Yeah, I would say spirited, I'm sure.
And it won't be conclusive, right? This is the beginning of a conversation, I think, on how the market receives a change. I'm not buying or selling here FICO or VantageScore, but it is a change that has to be managed and assessed. Different perspectives might yield different pricing as a consequence that comes through in interest rates. So then just flipping over here to Tuesday, this general session, what leaders are watching, whoa, this is going to be fantastic. But having, Freedom and Fifth Third on here, Bayview, so we've got a couple different perspectives, not only in the GSE or Ginnie Mae type of origination, but also here on the non-QM side. And I think that's going to be really fantastic, comprehensive session. So I would eat your Wheaties and be ready for that session. And following that one, I think the world has changed a little bit. So again, we were talking about generational differences earlier. Back in my day, I started out writing a position on a piece of paper, like, doing a hand calculation, very low tech, very analog. And it still worked, but we've, fast forward here a few decades, we've got some really fantastic computational power that allows us to have very sophisticated models, the introduction of AI to have some learnings and speed for recognition of trends and changes. That's pretty amazing, but also from a risk perspective, it could also be very unsettling. This session, the intersection of tech and secondary markets, I think is a really great place to start and listen. If you're a secondary manager of maybe a smaller company, a credit union, maybe you you're not in a large organization that has gone all in on investing in technology, I think this would be a fantastic place to come and take a listen and
100%
understand.
agree.
Yeah, yeah. So you've got ICE, you've got Better, and Angel Oak as well. So you've got different perspectives. It's not just the GSE or Ginnie Mae perspective too. So private investor perspective as well. And then coming after that is managing risk and liquidity with digital collateral. So again, I'll do the comparison back in the day, paper files, is everything in there? Is it not? Then image it, then send it. The world is, I think, much more efficient and effective, and data provenance from those collateral documents is a conversation that's being had. So how do you go faster in this world? And a lot of great folks thinking about data here. So Amy Moses with MISMO, shout out to her. She's really, she got me involved in some MISMO commitment file work that I didn't know about, and happened to give her a ring when I saw it fly through on LinkedIn. And now I'm in the MISMO world that I never participated in, for a couple of decades.
That's amazing.
And then of course, let's make sure for all of our folks who are interested in female empowerment and leveling the playing field, not just women but also men, the Empower session that is happening for lunchtime. That'd be a great place to go and mingle and learn. And then following lunch, the one of the top topics here is going to be non-agency. So at 1:30, the investor demand across the non-agency stack. Going to have a lot of non-QM conversations, as well as other types of asset classes of HELOCs and RTLs. A lot of really great folks here from different investors and other organizations. Would highly encourage that. And then similarly, from another asset class, the MSR valuation and strategy driver session at 1:30, with some really great folks. David Burris from Mortgage Capital Trading. He's going to give you some great insight on what he's seen in the marketplace. Seth Sprague, who was my CMB sponsor, and
I didn't know that.
May. Yeah. At Ritchie May, Seth always has some information. Michelle Richardson is really wonderful insights on retention strategy. So I think this will be a really great conversation that folks will be having. So I'd highly encourage that. And then speaking of other, kind of difficult topics, I'll say, meaty topics, Basel III Endgame. This is another place that I think folks need to go, whether you're a depository or you're not. This will impact the market from an MSR perspective. Holding, what capital has to be held. If that's being changed, then we might see some banks making some moves back towards MSRs. But big shout out to CapitalW board member Deb Jones, my friend, and just a guru here in the market. If you don't know Deb, you need to. And if you don't know much about Basel III, this is the place to come and learn about it. And then lastly, the MBA advocacy reception is another wonderful place to go to learn about what's happening. So network with people, understand their various perspectives on industry related topics, and have a little fun while you're doing it. So I think that was the end of, just wanted to bring those items to folks' attention, give you a little thoughts on where you invest your time, because this is an investment. Invest your time on behalf of your company, on behalf of yourself, and build out your network too. So, well, in doing so, what do we need to think about how you survive this? So, mention people meet at the bar at the Marquee. You don't have to drink, but it's a great place to meet people. If you do drink, as I say to my kids, my grown kids, make good choices and
drink responsibly.
Drink responsibly. Have a buddy, to check in with. And I do think I would encourage women to, to make sure that you know who you're talking to. This is not unlike anything any one of us women would say to one another. Are you Are you okay? Are you able to get home? And men, I would also encourage you that if you see somebody who might be in a sticky situation, there's absolutely nothing wrong with just checking in and introducing yourself and saying hi. So I
100% agree. Buddy system all the way.
It is. And I'm sorry that we have to have that, call out here, what happened to this being light and fun. But it's the reality, and it's a
100%
big city, and that's a busy hotel too. So, we as the mortgage bankers, we're not the only ones in that hotel. And then the fact that you have to, figure out how to access the right floor, hit the button and so forth.
Can be a little confusing your first time. So if you're a first timer, just stand back and watch everyone else, and then you'll learn really quick. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And so looks like it might be rainy. So I mentioned the having a little tiny umbrella is always good to bring. Usually the marquee will have some extra umbrellas that you can take if you need to, but wear some shoes to walk in, or bring shoes to walk in, and then you can always trade them out and put on the cute shoes.
That's what I do.
Yeah, I'm part of the club that says, no way, I cannot walk. I had the cutest, one year I had the cutest leopard print little, mules or whatever, and I had to walk 7 blocks, and by the end of it, my foot was already bleeding. So,
yeah. Bring Band-Aids, bring your little first aid kit, especially you ladies that like to wear heels the entire time. I tried doing that my first time in New York City for the secondary conference. Immediately regretted it. I think my feet were tore up for a good 2 weeks after that. I'm like, what did I do to myself? And you know what I did the next time? I bought some just cute casual shoes that I could wear with a maxi dress, that I could wear with, some pants and a blouse. And I was way more comfortable. I kept the cute shoes for dinner at night.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Good idea. Yeah, and I'm seeing more and more guys too wearing, they've got the sneaker fit going on.
They do, and it looks really good. Honestly, when they wear sport coat and pants, or even with their suits, there were some really good, kind of dressier sneakers out there.
Yeah.
And it makes me happy because sometimes I don't know, sometimes I feel like maybe a little underdressed like during the day, because I try to pick out like a nicer looking maxi dress. That's just what's comfortable for me to walk in all day. And the fact that I'm seeing more men that it's a sport coat, a button down, some dress pants and some nicer sneakers, where they're going a little bit more casual and going for comfort too. It's a haul when you're walking 25,000 steps in a day. You need to choose comfort over, some high heels or some loafers, right?
Right. And really, who cares about your feet? So,
yeah.
Who's going to look down and be like,
exactly.
Oh, no, you're not a good
We're all so busy, it doesn't matter, right?
Yeah, right. Nobody's ever said you're not a good counterparty credit risk because, you wore some very comfortable, reasonable shoes.
Exactly.
Well, and Ashley, you said that you're going up a little bit early because you're going to help use that time to celebrate your son's birthday. But your son's birthday is always around the MBA, the secondary.
It is. Yep. So my oldest Thomas, he turned 7 on Tuesday, May 19th. And unfortunately, the conference always falls right around his birthday and the last week of school. So, it's fun trying to manage that. And this year, my kids don't know that they're going to New York City yet. So when I pick them up from school on Friday, I'm going to have their suitcases packed. And when they walk in, they'll see their suitcase and ask where they're going. And I'm going to tell them New York City for the weekend. And I know I plan on recording it because I know that they're going to have their high-pitched, shrill scream because they're so excited. But the weekend's going to be beautiful. I've already booked some touristy things because, like you said, you don't really get to get out and do much because we're there for a work conference and you're so busy, you just don't have the time, right? And I'm looking forward to being able actually to play tourist for a couple of days in the city and be able to hang out with my kids until they have to go back to school Monday morning.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, and so then all the prep, of course, they go back and everybody has a checklist that they have to go through. I don't envy you. I remember those days, or I think I remember them, or maybe I blocked them out. But having all that extra help and getting organized for those trips so that you can you can be in the moment, you can be learning, you can be networking, without having to only bring half yourself. I do think that that's
Exactly.
a difficult thing, not just for women, but also for men. In that stage of life, we're all in different seasons. Sometimes we're the sandwich generation. So I definitely had that when my little kids, and then when my father was get ill and kind of really on the way down, I landed
You're
and
taking care of both, right?
turned my phone on and he was in the hospital again, kind of
No,
thing.
I'm
So
sorry.
yeah, well, so that was, and so we're all in different stages and seasons. So I hope we also give each other grace when we're there together if someone is distracted or needs to cut something short, and that we give each other support as well. So the follow-up, thereafter.
Completely agree with that.
Yeah. Well, don't forget people, you can always use your phone, the notes, and just talking to it real quick when you meet somebody, so that you can remember and then, include that when you get back to your office into your notes. If you're using a CRM or whatever, then you can have those, you can preserve that. I don't know how many cards are being given out anymore, but I would also recommend that you always have your LinkedIn open. And that's an easy way to, and not too creepy of a way to say, oh, I'd like to connect with you. We just had a conversation, just met you, I'd love to connect with you on LinkedIn. And then you can advance the relationship from there, especially if they have a vital or a very busy feed, or they're commenting, or if you see something that maybe they would enjoy, then sending that via LinkedIn. That's how you start building those relationships. And
exactly.
You never know where it's going to lead.
No, you really don't. I've had relationships off of, on LinkedIn, and then finally after 2 years, I meet that, person in person. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe we're finally now meeting in person. I've been following you, or you've been following me for so long, and, just bantering back and forth, or maybe doing business together. And once you finally meet them in person, it's like, I've known you for so long. Right. Yep. And you really, I don't know. I feel like I get a lot out of LinkedIn. I know people either love it, they hate it. There's not really like an in between, but I feel like there's so much good that's on LinkedIn as far as connecting with people, really getting a lot of real-time mortgage information, right? So you're in the know. I always tell people, yeah, you should definitely join LinkedIn. I mean, you get to meet people, and you're right, you never know where those connections lead.
Well, and I think also when you get home then, so kind of just to wrap things up, when you get home, and I think the plane ride's always a great place. I try to type in a bunch of notes as I'm, going throughout the days, and sometimes I'm like, what? I don't even know what that meant. But reorganizing thoughts, what are follow-ups? What did I learn? Maybe what I didn't really understand, and so that's something I need to continue pursuing. And then sometimes listing who might be my resources for the pursuit of information, or getting involved with new organizations, or just general curiosity. Well, Ashley, this has been a blast. Thank you so much for spending time. And so this is our inaugural episode of CapitalW Café, the intersection of business and life. We hope to see you sometime soon. We'll have some more episodes coming out with some different hosts, but Ashley's going to be our main host. And please let us know if you have any tips or tricks for conference seasons. What works for you? What would you advise against? We always like to know what not to do. And please follow us on LinkedIn and share your information. We appreciate you being here.
Thank you, Amy.
All right. Thank you, Ashley. Everybody, have a great conference season. See ya.
See ya.